बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है
And
समझना।
you
यहाँ
see,
पर हमारे
we
सामने
exchange knowledge
कौन
and
कौन हैं,
the interactions
आप अगर
are very
देखेंगे
wonderful.
तो आई विल शो यू। अभी
You will
हमारा
be surprised to
जो
note
है
that they listen
टी.एन.
deeply of the
मनोहरन जी हैं
CAG.
हमारे सामने, और
Those of
साथ
us
में जो
who
कि
do the
पास
PSU
प्रेसिडेंट,
audit,
साथ में जो है नफरा
one of
के
the topic
चेयरमैन,
of discussion was
साथ में जो है
how to enhance the
एमसीए
skills
के
of the
सेक्रेटरी
auditors.
और आईआरडीए के भी
And you
चेयरमैन।
see, that is the way
ये
they
सेशन
came.
है
And
आपका,
when presentation
और
was being done,
लेट अस सी
but
हाउ
the CAG officials are not
it is
like
going.
this. Something which I ought to have been doing, but CAG officials were doing the presentation and not by me. And sir has been, so much supportive of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. When we needed him at the last moment on 1st of July for the CA Foundation Day, we just approached sir and he said that for the Institute, I am always there. And for us at the Institute, it is a feeling of great satisfaction, great confidence that the Honorable CAG, the Honorable Comptroller and Auditor General of India, you see, is mentally inclined positively towards you. Sir, you see, thank you very much for your kind presence, sir, today amidst us. It is our great pleasure and privilege to have you amidst us, sir. And let me tell you, sir, you see, the Institute will always do everything possible to live up to the expectations of the CAG. The next gentleman, Sri Ajay Bhushan Prasad Pandey, the chairman of NFRA. When he took over, one of the first thing when I went and met sir was, we said that sir, let us talk to each other, and number two, if there is an issue, we shall resolve across the table. And since then, sir has been our steadfast friend of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. You see, he does not surprise us by his actions. And you see, we are always in dialogue because we have a common objective of enhancing audit quality. And we do everything possible in that direction. Today, somebody was asking me in a press conference that what is the Institute doing to enhance the audit quality? And I said that since we sit in Mumbai, since the World Congress is being organized in Mumbai, we have a center for audit quality which is located in Mumbai. And this center for audit quality has developed something called AQMM, Audit Quality Maturity Models. We have developed audit quality indicators. The idea is do everything possible for enhancement of the audit quality because we believe that at the end of the day, we will be judged by the quality of our audit. Sir, the theme of this 21st World Congress is building trust and enabling sustainability. So the Institute believes that it is not the size that matters. Sir, we are already the second largest accounting body in the world. Not even the power, but it is the respect and dignity that the profession commands. That is the most important aspect for the profession. And so that is the belief of the Institute. And we are doing everything possible in that direction, trying to attain the trust of the nation and the trust of the stakeholders. So on sustainability, I can say with great deal of confidence that we are the leaders in that. You see, we developed the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board more than 2 years back, and we were one of the pioneers in that. We have now developed the Sustainability Reporting Standards. Now, for SEBI, which has come up with a social stock exchange, we have developed the social audit standards. So the other day, chairperson of SEBI, madam, she came to our office in VKC and she was in praise of the efforts of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She was saying, can we also expect something on digital assurance? And we told her, madam, we will also work on that and do whatever is required. Sir, as a standard setter, we not only set standards on the accounting side, but we are also equally laying stress on the standard setting on ethics. Because we believe that at the end of the day, it will be the integrity, excellence and independence by which we will be judged. Sir, it has been a great pleasure working with both of you, and I'm sure we will continue working. And this gentleman to my extreme right, Padma Shri, past President N. Manoharan, I think he requires no introduction. He's written a book on how, he has been given the Padma Shri because many people remember us for Satyam in a bad way. But he has been given the Padma Shri because he was successful in turning around Satyam. Right? So see, we have, such kind of personalities amidst us. And it is our great pleasure to have him, moderating this session today, sir. And a hearty welcome to you, sir, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. To all of you, I hope that you have an extremely enthralling session, because the speakers that we have are speakers of great erudition, of great experience, and they will share their thoughts, which I believe will be of extreme relevance to the 21st World Congress and also to the profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CA Dr. Devashish Mitra, for heartily welcome everyone. The Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General is the supreme audit institution. It's a constitutional body, and it is an honor for us that at the World Congress we have the presence of Mr. Girish Chandra Murmuji. I now request the respected Comptroller and Auditor General to share his theme address, please.
Dr. Devashish Mitra, President of the IPI, Dr. Talati, the Vice President of the IPI, distinguished panelists, Dr. Ajay Mission Pandey, Chairman of NAFTA, Past President CA, Mr. Manoharan, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. I am very happy to be here at the 21st World Congress of the Accountants, hosted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India this year. I am glad to learn that this year's conference has put the spotlight on building trust, enabling sustainability. Both trust and sustainability are critical for any civilized society, democratic governance, and for entire humanity. It assumes greater importance in the globalized, interdependent system and on the face of emerging challenges. Accounting is core to build trust in all walks of trade, commerce, industry, and in governance. The culture of accounting has to be made in tune with sustainable development and inclusive growth. The World Congress of Accountants, as we all know, is a meeting ground of some of the best global minds in the accounting profession. Its members are some of the most diverse and talented professionals, including auditors, accountants, actuaries, regulators, contract setters, finance controllers, CEOs, and CFOs. The business community, the public, and the professional field experts all look up to the World Congress of Accountants to provide new insights and innovations for improving efficacy of the financial reporting and business management. The history of phenomenal growth in trade and commerce is closely intertwined with that of the development of the accounting profession. It is inconceivable that without timely and accurate financial information in form of accounts, the era of international economic model would have grown to its present size. The ICI has been aware to the emerging situation, challenges and constructive strive to evolve and uphold its standards to ensure transparency and accountability in financial reporting. The ICI has been playing a crucial role in regulating the profession by adopting high accounting standards, auditing procedures, and accurate accounting practices. It has diverse expertise in a wide area of taxation matters, from capital budgeting, budget forecasting, and accounts auditing. The accountancy and auditing profession has always been a strong enabler in policy formation and policy implementation. One of the recent examples, if I may cite, is the contributions made by the CA fraternity in the implementation of goods and services tax in the country. However, the economy is going through a massive transformation with evolution of new and innovative tools in doing business. These will challenge the conventional accounting tradition and thinking. For example, there is the issue of new balancing, where companies which hardly have any physical assets or employees have revenue streams of billions of dollars. Case in point is that cab and hotel room aggregators. The accounting profession not only has to keep itself abreast of with the technological changes, but has to keep in step with the new disruptive business models of the 21st century. There are many other challenges which impact the global value chain, especially the international transaction, an example being the emergence of cryptocurrency, and the challenges of capturing untraceable financial transactions, which will be a huge challenge in the financial audit. Today, we need to constantly search for credible tools to meet the challenges emanating from the development in trade and tariff systems and emergence of digital assets necessitating credible accounting environment. We need accountants who can contribute in creating sustainable business by taking advantage of emerging tools and innovations in public financial management to foster inclusive growth. India has remained resilient during the emerging challenges of pandemic and economic slowdown and has become the fifth largest economy in the world. And the country is witnessing massive infrastructure development, high industrial growth, and rising consumption levels. It is well on its way to become a global manufacturing hub. Hundreds of homegrown small and medium enterprises and young entrepreneurs are creating unicorns which shows a positive signal. They would require, especially in their initial days, guidance and support from the accounting profession for legal and regulatory compliance. The Government of India has well-defined digital strategy for augmenting the country's social and physical infrastructure. The country has initiated several e-government solutions for delivery of public services. At present, we run the world's largest direct benefit transfer program for the welfare of millions of poor in the country. The Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Financial Inclusion Program is linked to citizens' unique identity numbers and their mobile phones, and efforts that have been able to plug subsidy leakages to large extent. We need sustainable IT governance and prudent financial management to enact large public programs transparently without running into cost and time delays. Accounting and audit professionals must take note of this development to complement the government's efforts. We have to ensure that we discharge our duties with high ethical, technical and professional standards. Digital assurance will allow auditors to validate for an entire population, which will improve efficient workflow and build trust in financial statements. It is time, therefore, for the accountancy profession to take steps towards building high-quality integrated reporting and performance statements. It is heartening to note that the ICI has been adopting emerging technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, big data, and is imparting training on those tools. The Comptroller and Auditor General of India, as an independent constitutional authority, has a unique role of auditing all the receipts and the expenditure of the Union and State of India. Moreover, for third tier of the government, which is local bodies such as municipalities and village level institutions, CAG provides both technical guidance and support to their respective auditors, as well as conducts periodic audits wherever entrusted. CAG audits all the public sector enterprises which are run on commercial lines and follows the ICI's accounting standards. It also, by statutes of Parliament, is responsible for reporting on issues of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit and matter of debt sustainability. We at CAG have used cutting-edge technologies such as satellite imagery and geospatial analysis to aid audit planning and evidence gathering. I am happy to share that our progress in the area of research and capacity building for information system, data analytics and environmental audit is comparable to the best in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to touch upon another important area of accounts on the issue of sustainable development paradigm. The maxim popularized in the 80s that greed is good requires a serious rethink if our planet is to sustain itself. The humans are still on a footnote in the chronological history of millions of years of evolution of life in this planet. However, within a few thousand of years, we have brought unimaginable changes upon Earth. The issue of sustainable development can no longer be overlooked, and accountants and auditors also have an important role to play here to comment not just on the legality, propriety, transparency and accountability, but also on sustainability. Today, more than ever, we should be guided by Mahatma Gandhi's message when he said, the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. Towards this end, I commend the ICI's Sustainability Reporting Standard Board for making persistent efforts to achieve Panchamrits of the 5 nectar necessary to make India a low-intensity carbon state, as envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji during the COP26 at Glasgow. It is heartening to note that the ICI is formulating comprehensive standards for measuring and disclosing non-financial information on an entity progress towards meeting the SDG goals, and has recently issued first ever assurance standards on ESG. CAG's Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board released the first ever compendium of asset accounts of natural resources in October this year. This data was prepared in line with the UN system of environmental and economic accounts and covers all the 28 states and 1 union territory. We are proud that this specialized handbook detailing available fossil fuel and mineral is one of the few examples of natural resource accounting anywhere in the world. The CAG shares a long and fruitful association with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have also been working together to evolve standards for accounting and auditing and for improving quality reviews for a long time in various committees. A special mention has to be made about joint efforts to improve financial statements of public sector undertakings. I am sure this synergy would be instrumental in establishing quality financial reporting and a credible compliance framework. These will not only strengthen corporate governance practice in our country, but also guide us towards realizing the country's economic and social objectives. I am certain the experience and insights of the panel speakers would set the tone for fruitful discussion and sharing of new ideas from practice for the greater good of society and economy. We live in an interconnected world today, and adoption of universally acceptable standard is critical for professional competence in any field. As I conclude, I would emphatically state that the World Committee of Accountants and the Auditors is very valuable pillar of the global financial and economic environment. Emerging challenges have to be addressed by such world bodies with a holistic approach, keeping in mind the existing inequalities, unique and diversified system, digital divide, and sustainability. The expectation of the Society for Accounts and Auditors is that we will contribute constructively and positively towards the goal of more equitable and sustainable world. As I leave these thoughts with you, I convey my best wishes to all the participants at the 2022 World Congress of Accountants. Also, I would like to congratulate ICAI once again for successfully hosting this event in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Girish Chandra Murmu, Honorable Comptroller and Auditor General of India. And now for his special address, I would like to invite Dr. Ajay Bhushan Prasad Pandey, Chairman, National Financial Reporting Authority. Sir.
गाइस ये सुनने वाला है नफरा के चेयरमैन, ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. Let us listen to him. What he says.
Girish Chandra Murmu, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. CA Devasis Mitra, President of ICAI. CA Aniket Talati, Vice President ICAI. And CA T.N. Manoharan, past President ICAI. And all the council members who are present here, and distinguished delegates who have come from all over the world, and all distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my proud privilege to be in this, to be here on this occasion, because this 21st World Congress of Accountants, which is happening here, I am told that this is happening for the first time, and I was told that almost for more than 100 years, 118 years, as a country we got this privilege to host this international conference. So it is indeed a matter of a great proud for every Indian, ICAI, because I have seen very closely that how much effort they have, sheer amount of effort that Mr. Devasis Mitra and Mr. Talati and his entire team has done. Day and night they have worked to ensure that this World Congress, which has come to India for the first time, is indeed a success. The topic for this session is accounting profession partner in nation building. And in fact, our former President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, had coined this term, partners in nation building, for the Indian Chartered Accountants during his address to the CF fraternity. You know, there couldn't have been a better description of this profession than this. Because when you are actually building a nation, And in this world, of course, the government does something, but there are lot things are done also in the private sector. But what is that common link? The common link is that the chartered accounting profession, both accountancy and auditing, which applies equally to the government and also to the private sector. And so this is the common link and very essential function that they do, and that is where the role of in the partnership in the nation building. Now, if you see the total, the chartered accountancy profession here and the ICAI, we all know that ICAI was formed in 1949. And since then, through these various committees and the research committee which got constituted in 1955, expert committee 1975, it has been made efforts consistently through through last 7-8 decades to enable our country with a very sound system of accounting and auditing. One thing what we all must acknowledge is that from the very beginning, ICAI and then the accounting profession here, they have been adhering to the international standards. I mean, just imagine their foresight 7-8 decades back. They could have used any accounting system, any auditing system, but they adhere largely to this international system and see the advantage today that in the times of a globalization, when a lot of investments are coming to our country and then our people are going out and making investments there, having a accounting system and auditing system as per the international standard is of a great help. And that is why a few years back when India decided to adopt the international IFRS, and so we said that yes, India is, and with about 9 carve-outs. We could do that within a very short span of time. Within a few years, we could adopt Ind AS, and that was possible because ICAI and the entire accounting and auditing profession has been working towards the building an international standards and adhering to the international standards. The second aspect where again, their contribution is very important, the taxation. And in fact, both the CAG and I were at some, in our previous role, we have been part of that taxation because both have worked in the revenue department. You see, prior to 80s, because our taxpayers base was very small, the income tax department or any tax department, they used to audit every taxpayer. Every return used to be audited. But as we started growing, then it was not possible for any government organization or the department to do the auditing. So the first time in 1984, the tax audit was introduced by the tax department. Excuse me. And since then, it has been doing the very effective job and has been working with the tax department to give an assurance about the tax reporting. So that is again a very major role which ICAI and then our tax professional has been performing. Other is, as our President has mentioned, that that we are the second largest accountants here in India. More than 350,000. The workforce is there and highly talented people. If you see the entire rigors of the entire examination process, training process, I am yet to see any other profession with such high rigor. And in fact, day before yesterday, I was in the Forum of Firms, and there it was mentioned that even Supreme Court in one of the hearings was mentioning that about some examination system, and they said that why don't you study the ICI's, the examination system, and why don't you learn good people? So and every year 10,000, I'm told, 10,000 chartered accountants, certifieds, they enter into the profession. And with such rigorous process, and at least, I haven't heard any paper leak and all these kinds of problems. So just imagine the integrity of the entire
प्रॉब्लम्स
process.
दूसरे तरह की है.
And that is the reason why, many of the global accountancy and auditing firms, they have their delivery center in India because, you have such a vast pool of manpower. So they are actually performing not only the auditing and accounting work of, the Indian company, but also of the global companies. So this has become possible because India was known as the software hub, the BPO outsourcing, but this is another area where because of the strong human capital, the professional capital that, the ICI and all of you, in fact I can see many past presidents and many council members here, they all have contributed over the last several decades. So in that sense, India has become a skilled capital of the world in the area of financial reporting services. So I must, congratulate the ICI, all past president, council members, all the leaders that, we have brought this to this stage. Now coming to the, now the question is that yes, we have done for the last 7-8 decades, a lot of good things have been done. But at the same time, we should also start discussing that how do we improve further? Because at any point of time, and this is true of every profession or every service, that we should constantly think of improving. And that is where some of the things, we need to discuss. And that is what is also being discussed everywhere in the forums. Like, the audit quality. Because when we are talking about the auditing is a very, very important component of the accountancy profession. And therefore, the moot question is, which are asked, that whether the audit performed today meet the expectation of the stakeholders. And when we say stakeholders, in fact, our finance minister in her speech yesterday, she also referred to this, that the expectation of the stakeholders. And stakeholders are not only limited to the shareholders or the board of directors or the audit committee. It is a much larger body where, the banks and then the people, because ultimately it is the people's money, it is there. And therefore, anything what we discuss about the audit quality, it has to meet the expectation of the stakeholders. And audit quality will be achieved when the expectation of the stakeholders are met. In fact, I came across a very, very recent interesting report, which, day before yesterday I was talking in in a panel discussion before the Forum of Firms. So maybe some of the things I have already spoken there, but in this larger audience, I thought that I must share, those views, even if at the cost of repetition. So I came across a recent report, which in UK, in the aftermath of Carillon failure, The House of Commons had constituted one committee, and then Kingman's committee, and then also the Bryden's committee. And in the Bryden's review report, he has identified various gaps. And he has said performance gap, knowledge gap, hindsight gap, quality gap, all have come to the surface. And personally I would tend to agree with a view mentioned in that report. And it is not something which is specific to our country. I mean, I am talking about the auditing profession as a whole at a global level. That is what he has also mentioned, that there is an issue of delivery gap when it comes to the audit. And why does this delivery gap arise? It is because of the expectation. So in order to address this delivery gap, so that a good audit is performed, we have to keep in mind the stakeholders' expectation. And that is why, some suggestions have been given, and those suggestions have come from the profession itself. There was a recent report, survey report by ACCA, Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and they surveyed about 11,000 members of public in 11 countries, and what it has brought to the fore is the paradigm shift of public expectation of audit as far as the detection and reporting of fraud is concerned. That survey results shows that 35% want the audit to always detect frauds, and another 25 to 40 wants detection of a material frauds. And therefore, the debate is that whether during the auditing, the fraud needs to be detected. So that is the kind of an expectation that is there. And this is an area which has been debated on public forums since decades. And in fact, one of the doyens of this auditing profession and accounting profession, that past president of ICAI, CA Maligan, he wrote something like 25 years back, way back in 1998, and I would quote him, "The public wants protection against fraud, and it cannot understand how companies for which an auditor has given an unqualified audit report could suddenly collapse later on because of certain management fraud." He also said that we need to abandon our traditional approach, where we put primary responsibility in this regard on the management, and also auditor looks at the internal control only from his audit perspective. Again, in one of the recent articles, after 25 years, he wrote another article in the Chartered Accountant Journal here, that was in July 2022, just about 4 months back, and he has almost repeated the same thing. So the Bryden Committee review report, and then views of Maligan, and then similarly, the various other reports. The question is that if the auditors are not able to identify frauds or risk of corporate failures, the question is that are auditors alone responsible for detecting frauds or risk of corporate failures? Because being a responsible and being alone responsible, these are two different things. So therefore, my personal view in this regard is that before we pass a value judgment on this issue, what we need to do is that all players, which includes the government, regulators, the board of directors, shareholders, all must appreciate the challenging environment in which the auditors operate. Because you just cannot hold somebody responsible without realizing his problem. And that is why I say that all of us, we must evaluate whether the auditors have the real freedom. I mean, having a freedom on paper is one thing, or in the law is one thing, and whether, in the practice having a real freedom or independence is another thing. So we must evaluate whether they have a real freedom or independence or face practical constraints while doing audit in the manner they want, and whether there are other factors which limit their professional freedom, independence and their scope. And that is where the two things, there could be many suggestions, but in my view, the two things can be very useful. And that is where, I would like that there should be a public debate or professional debate on, some of the things that I'm going to discuss. One is that the engagement with the stakeholders and gathering the expectations by the users. And other is the use of emerging technologies for data research, analytics and third parties confirmation. In this era of internet and social media platform, there is a need to leverage them and evolve suitable mechanisms and mean for a two-way communication between the stakeholders and auditors. And of course via the audit committees and the board of directors. Again, here I would suggest that the suggestions of a Bryden review report, he has given a suggestion that publish director's risk report prior to the audit committee meeting, where the scope of audit is discussed. It suggests that the audit committee may publish a formal invitation to the shareholders and the stakeholders to express any request that they have regarding the areas of emphasis which they wish the auditor to incorporate in their audit plan. Because today in the audit plan, it is left to the professional judgment of the auditors to identify the risk areas. Right. Now that is where the real independence and the professional judgment will come in. But today, in the era of internet and then social media platforms and the communication, the question is, can we strengthen the hands of the auditors? And that is what the Bryden has also suggested, that can we gather the stakeholders' expectations, particularly about the areas which needs to be emphasized during the audit and in the risk areas. So what I would call that this is a very innovative method of crowdsourcing of risk identification. Because today the risk identification is largely done by the auditor through his professional judgment, but can we crowdsource it and can we supplement it? That's the question that we need to ask, and whether that is going to help meet the expectation gap. So this will actually help not only meet the expectation gap of the shareholders, but also empower and strengthen the auditors to look into several areas which many times the conflicted management may not ideally want them to look into. And that is why I mentioned earlier that whether they have a real professional independence and the freedom, and this is definitely going to help them. And this will go a long way in establishing a transparent regime of corporate governance, which we have been striving for decades. Another area of use is the technology and data analytics in the audit. Today, we as a country are proud to have solved many long-standing vexed problems through the technology and data analytics. As a country, we are proud that what we have done in Aadhaar is unparalleled in the world. The UPI, again, unparalleled in the world. Now the GST, and that is where, our CAG and I work together on the GST. And then, we have kind of a very short span of time, 4 to 5 years, completely transformed the entire, the indirect taxation landscape, and we have solved the problem through the technology. The income tax, the faceless assessment, annual information statement in the income tax. So with all these, what we have tried to do is that we have tried to minimize the information asymmetry. In fact, when I was talking here, Mr. Talati was mentioning that, the SEBI chairman was having a discussion with him, and there we are talking about the digital, assurance, because there may be some people who may show turnover of 200 crores in GST, whereas in the income tax they will show something else, and then the financial statement they will show something else. But today, with all this technology and with data exchange, this is, this is going to be very, very difficult, and that is why the use of technology. And in fact, some of the things, as a professional, you may be aware that in the revenue department, what we did was that whatever is the GST turnover is automatically passed on to the income tax. And then in the income tax, in the annual information statement, that is also shown as one of the items, that how much he has disclosed in the as a GST turnover. Similarly, all your banking transactions, for example, if someone has purchased a mutual fund, purchased some property or somewhere, the information gets collected from the various sources, and then they are displayed in the annual information statement, so that when the returns are filed, the taxpayer and then their accountant, they are aware that look, these are the transactions which are already known to the tax authorities. So better, you include that in your tax return and don't leave any, any gap. So this is just an example. So basically, we have also what we have done. Another thing that you all must be aware, that way in the VAT regime, this input and output, this credit, the mismatch and then the misreporting, and that's the kind of a huge problem which was happening and the tax leakages. But what we have done through the GST, again through the data, automated data matching, that problem to that extent has been minimized. So basically what we have done is that we have used technology to minimize human interface, physical inspection, and we have to do external and third-party confirmation of information contained in more than 200 millions of tax returns and almost 500 million e-invoice every year in an automated manner, and thereby improve compliance and tax collection significantly. So therefore, we all need to put our minds together and to see how technology can be used in the areas of assurance, the digital assurance and audit. Naturally, if we are going to use technology in the digital assurance, the quality of audit is going to improve very, very quickly, in the sense that external confirmations, and then there will be minimum scope of any information asymmetry. So in fact, we must be aware that stakeholder expectations and technology are going to change the face of the audit or the nature of the audit in future. So we should be very, very clear about it. Now, another very important topic, which is the theme of this World Congress, and is that non-financial reporting initiative and frameworks. As we all know that since 1992, the UN Conference on Environment and Development, many efforts in this area of sustainable development have taken place.
I think this is enough for
under the various
today.
initiatives of United Nations and
I'll
other
let
state
you know
organizations.
later on.
Now,